Okay, so good evening po sa lahat. Good evening to everyone here in the Philippines and hopefully all over the world. Okay, so we're here in the Philippines right now, and the Wild Bird Club of the Philippines is going to have its Birders Kapihan. Okay, it's the first of its kind here in the Philippines, and we're going to be talking about the basics of bird watching here in the Philippines in your own backyard. So bird watching can be done all over, including your backyard. We've been staying at home for so long, but we can still enjoy bird watching. So for this evening, we're going to have speakers, and at the same time, let's have a few reminders. So we're now on Zoom, we're now on Facebook. For those in Zoom, please put your microphones on mute so that our speakers will not be disturbed. And we're going to have questions later. So you could utilize the chat boxes beside you and just put your questions there, and perhaps our members can give you answers directly. And maybe later during our Q&A, you could also ask them live. Okay, so we're going to have a good night, and we see that we have four speakers. Okay, our speakers would be, one is Cheta Chua. He's a banker and he's a general nature lover, especially he loves reptiles and birds. Next is Gabbi Reyes. Gabbi Reyes works as a designer and creative strategist. Gwen is an English and Mandarin teacher and gives the fun and passion in birding in our club. Later, we're going to have Trinket Constantino, who has been she's actually the eldest in the group. She has been a WBCP member since 2005 and enjoys birding with her husband. Her husband is a famous Filipino bird guide of the Birding Adventure Philippines, and he guides all over the country, abroad, and even in your backyard. So they have this dynamic duo. They are actually co-authors of the naturalist guide uh, to the birds of the Philippines, and you could find them hopefully in National Bookstore. It's really a must-have book if you're going to do your bird watching. So every one of them, these four people are actually birding addicts. So we're going to hear them, and they're going to teach us the basics of bird watching in the backyard. Before we start, let's hear the opening remarks from our treasurer of the Wild Bird Club of the Philippines, Jobs Joseph.
Hi.
Hey, Jobs.
Okay. Hi. Good evening sa inyong lahat. I was tasked to give a few welcome remarks since this is the first. Yung Birders Kapihan really started since after the start of the community quarantine, so lockdown. I think it was our response as birders to the community quarantine. But honestly, I think sepaks to not being able to bird outside. Yun yung response natin. And with the availability of Zoom, this was our only easiest recourse. So it started out with mostly members. Tapos we invited speakers from all over the Philippines to talk about the sites that we could have gone to during the community quarantines, but were not able because of the lockdowns and the travel restrictions. So we had Palawan. On top of my mind, may nagsalita about Peacock, and then some other sites that I forgot. And then we had the 13th Philippine Virtual Festival, which we also held on Zoom last kailan nga yun? August, sometime in August. I forgot now. But then after that, ang nangyari nun is that there were a lot of feedback asking for more Zoom sessions like this, especially when we did the children's hour. Ang daming natuwa mga bata. We ourselves never expected na ganun yung response or ganun yung ka-interactive yung session namin on Zoom with the kids. So the BK Pub, the Birders Kapihan, the public sessions was born, and this will be a once a month thing from now until whenever. I think this will continue even after the lockdowns are lifted or even after wala na yung COVID. So we're all excited for tonight, for this first session. And we already have a lot of topics lined up for the next one kasi that came from the feedback from the PBF. So two of the topics that on top of my mind was we will answer all the questions that were posted during the PBF, and then yung mga how to use birding equipment, specifically binocular scopes and cameras. So keep it short, do enjoy tonight, and do watch out for the next announcements for the future Birders Kapihan, the public sessions. Thank you, Robbie.
Okay, so while you're, here's a trick. If you're going to be listening, now we have to have a game. Okay, so here's let me show you what we're going to do now. Okay, so if as you listen, we would like to get some feedback. Okay, so while we're talking about the basics of bird watching, we're going to have a game, a contest. Okay, so post a screenshot of our event. Okay, so use your whatever, your phone or a screenshot of this, then post it in your FB page and or in the Birdwatch Philippines community group. Then make sure your post is public so that more people can see it. And we're going to have judges. So to identify your page, so go to use the hashtag Pulse Birding with WBCP. Okay, so you can see it on your screen. Then just answer these questions as a text accompanying your photo. What is the most important thing you learned from the talk? Okay, we have 4 speakers, and think what would be the most important thing that you learned from these 4 speakers. And then the best 3 posts will be selected by September 27, 8 p.m. And we promise you, we have prizes to give out. Okay, so again, go to hashtag birding with WBCP, screenshot, then post it. Then the best answer will have a good prize. Okay, so now let's proceed, and we'll start with Mr. Cheta. Okay, Cheta, please.
Hi. So actually, I'm Gabby. I'll be
Gabby,
starting.
sorry.
Yes, it's okay. No problem. Hold on. Let me. Yes. So I'll be starting tonight's talk. So I've been with the club for 2 years already, but prior to that, I've been bird watching since 2012, since I was a student. So tonight, let's begin with some need-to-knows about bird watching. Okay, so kung may mga nakasalubong na kayo sa daan, sometimes at UP or in very heavy flora areas, tapos may nakikita kayo mga tao na patalon-talon, mukhang nagwawala habang nakapuro sa puno. Most likely, birdwatcher yun. Hindi yun baliw. So, normally we get very excitable lalo na when we spot our target birds. So today, ang pag-uusapan natin ay yung very thing na ikinababaliwan nating mga birdwatcher. So, let's understand first what birdwatching is. Ano nga ba ang birdwatching? Okay, so birdwatching is actually a fun activity that so many people miss out on. So we do it out of fun, but most of the time, you know, other than that it can be a hobby, meron din siyang layunin or purpose as an activity and objective. So Generally, ang birdwatching involves observing birds, studying their calls, counting them, studying their numbers, and noting down their behavior. So what counts ba as birdwatching? So it actually only counts as birdwatching if you're observing these birds in the wild. So kailangan wild birds ang pinapanood natin. So hindi natin masasama ang mga tawag nating captive birds. So ito yung mga nakita nyo sa zoo or yung mga pets ng ibang tao. And lalong-lalo na, hindi natin masasabing birdwatching ang panghuhuli ng mga wild birds. So first of all, it's illegal to catch wild birds. There's a law against this. But we shouldn't catch birds, not just because it's illegal, but also we don't want to disrupt nature. So kung sa tindahan meron tayong look but don't touch, sa kalikasan merong watch, don't catch. Okay? So now that may mas malinaw ang definition natin ng birdwatching, let's take a look at who bird watches. Sino-sino nga ba ang nagba-bird watching? So there are some professions that actually require bird watching. So it's part of the job. So minsan ornithologists, photographers, biologists, etc. But this doesn't stop the regular person from enjoying it as a recreational activity. Sa totoo lang, bata man o matanda, kahit sinong may mata at tenga, pwede na mag-bird watching. Hindi naman din kailangan magastos, lalo na kung nagsa-start out pa lang kayo, maaari nyo gamitin yung mga mata nyo, and all you need is access to a place where you know has birds. So pwedeng sa office nyo, sa house, sa school, etc. And we'll learn more about that later from the other speakers. So, konting trivia lang actually. Did you know that kahit sa mga celebrity na sobrang sikat na even in abroad, merong mga bird watcher. So, isa doon si Paul McCartney, who is known to go bird watching in between gigs. And as a child, he was very into birds. In fact, he's inspired by birds because it reminds him of freedom. And we have Lily Taylor. I don't know if you've seen The Conjuring, but she was the mother there. She's actually a board member of Audubon. And here we have Ian Fleming. And for those who don't know, he's an author. And he was such a big fan ng bird watching that one of the characters of his book, a really, really famous spy by the name of Bond, James Bond, was actually named after this guy. So this is the real James Bond. He is an ornithologist. So malaki din ang mga contributions niya. He wrote books about the birds of the Caribbean. And siya yung totoong James Bond. So pwede na natin sabihin na katulad na tayo ni James Bond habang nagba-bird watching. So, yeah. So, bakit nga ba tayo nagbo-bird watch? And ano ang makukuha natin out of this activity? So, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, bird watching is required for some jobs. And also, pwede din tayo mag-volunteer work. So, like every year, there's something called Asian Water Bird Census, where volunteers and other experts in the field come together and count the water birds that come to our country. And kasama na din dun ang pag-survey ng lugar and making reports. Ayan. So that's one of the reasons. And another reason is nagkakaroon din tayo ng malay. You know, may kamalayan tayo na hindi lang tayo ang buhay sa buong mundo. There are other life forms on Earth. So parang may third eye ka na biglang namulat. Pero imbes na multo ang nakikita mo, puro ibon. So nakikilala din natin ng mga hayop, halaman, or pati na din ng mga tao na naninirahan sa isang lugar. another value that comes out of bird watching, lalo na kung balak nyo sumali sa club or group, ay ang pakikisama. So nakakatuwa lang when Robbie introduced us a while ago, you can see that we all come from different backgrounds, iba't ibang profession, but iisa ang aming passion.
Siguro nangingi.
So WBCP is made up of different people from different disciplines, but we're all passionate about one thing. So yes, from bird watching, we also learn to understand our impact on the environment. Lalo na kapag madalas ka mag-bird watching, nakikita niyo yung changes in the places you visit. So mapapansin niyo ba kung dumadami yung basura, umuunti ba yung bird populations? You notice the deforestation happening, etc. All because of unsustainable practices. Yeah. And finally, bird watching also provides stress relief. So for us, we become very happy lalo na we see a new bird we didn't see before. And there are some studies also that show nature bathing can serve beneficial to people. It helps calm us. And most of all, we're able to do what makes us happy. Now, another reason why it's nice to go bird watching, I just wanted to add, is that we can take inspiration also from nature. There are some engineers who are bird watchers. So like yung bullet train sa Japan, it's modeled after certain traits ng kingfisher, I think. So yeah, there's much inspiration from nature. So overall, bird watching opens our eyes to a whole world that we tend to look past. And in the Philippines, there are more birds than just the Maya. And these are actually, the birds you see on the screen right now are birds we spotted in the urban settings. Now, I will turn over the presentation to Cheta, who will help us who will provide tips on how we can look beyond the Maya.
So thank you, Gabby, for your part. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. So ang unang topic ko ay kailan tayo nagbe-bird. So ang simpleng sagot dito ay anytime. Pwede tayo mag-bird 24/7, 365 days a year. So next slide. So generally nga, ginagawa ang birding at daytime. So totoo nga ang saying na ang early bird gets the worm. So syempre, the birder wants the early birds. So we want to see those birds, and we see that they're most active at 6 to 9 a.m. Pag mainit naman around lunchtime, yung birders rin nagsa-stop rin ng birding. Kasi sobrang init nga. So, hindi rin active ang mga birds during this time. So, most of the yung maganda sa daytime ay karamihan ng birds ay active talaga during this day. So, siguro 90% of the species will be able to see them in the daytime. So, other factors that affect this are yung temperature, pag may ulan, pag malakas ang hangin, at mga fruiting seasons ng mga puno. So, next. Next, please. So hindi nagtatapos ang birding pag wala na ang araw. Tingnan natin ang night birding. So birders call this owling because our main targets here are owls. So mas mahirap nga ang night birding kasi syempre gabi. So madilim. So kailangan rin namin ng flashlight. And usually we rely more on sound to do owling kasi using the flashlights too much will disturb the owls and aalis rin sila. So you have to hear the owl first before actually looking for it. Next slide, please. So let's look at yung seasons naman ng birding. So mas split natin ang types of birds into 3 main types of birds. So may migrants, residents, and endemics. So yung mga migrants, we can say that they're the foreigners. Dumadating sila around September to May. And usually they come from other countries such as China, Japan, at Russia. Yung mga residents at endemics naman ay nahahanap sila dito 365 days a year. So yung pagkaiba ng resident at endemic, ang mga residents ay found in other countries, habang ang endemics ay found only in the Philippines. Next slide, please. So ang next question naman natin, saan tayo nagbe-bird? So saan nga ba? Again, yung sagot ay anywhere. Almost. Okay. Next slide, please. So yung maganda sa Pilipinas ay marami tayong island sa archipelago natin. So what makes it so unique is ang daming endemic birds sa Philippines. In fact, number 3 nga tayo sa list of endemic birds in the whole world. So we are the hotspot of bird biodiversity. Actually, hindi lang birds, almost all other animals mataas rin ang biodiversity. But syempre, birders kami. So iyan yung i-highlight natin. Next, please. So, next, please. So for discussion's sake, I'll split the habitat types into 3, pero sa totoo, ang dami talagang habitat types, and this is a very simplified version. So first, I'll discuss yung pinaka-paborito kong habitat types, which are the forests. So dito mo mahahanap yung karamihan ng endemic birds sa mga gubat. Syempre, meron rin naman endemics and migrants dito, pero the highlight talaga of forests are endemic birds. Yung maganda sa forest ay yung mga ibon dito ay sobrang makulay. So, marami ang nearby examples actually. You'd think na, ay walang gubat sa Manila. Pero in fact, just 30 minutes away, depending where you are, kung nasa NCR ka, meron yung La Mesa Eco Park, which is yung pictured to the right. Sa UP Los Baños naman yung Mount Makiling. And yung pinaka-paborito kong lugar, yung Marilake Highway, na I think naka 14-15 times ako last year. So, yeah, addict talaga ako sa forest. So, next slide, please. So, ito nga yung examples ng forest birds. As you can see, sobrang makulay nga sila. If you look at yung top left, yan yung Rufous Hornbill. Sobrang addict ako sa ibon na yan. So like first time ko makita, nagwala talaga ako. And I think the others will attest to that. Nagpanic talaga ako. I was like, wow, such an amazing experience. So next slide, please. So yung next habitat type na i-discuss ko ay yung mga wetlands. So ano nga ba ang wetlands? So ang basic thing about wetlands is that they're wet. So yung maganda sa wetlands naman, if the forests have the endemics, marami naman migrants sa wetlands. That's not to say na walang residents or endemics sa wetlands. But yun talaga yung big focus ng wetlands. So yun nga, usually we visit this during the migration season. Pero I'm sure there's still lots of worthwhile birds to visit during the off-season. So in the wetlands, makakakita tayo ng isang katutak ng ibon. So sa mga healthy places like Pampanga River, sometimes you can see thousands of birds, umabot nga ng 10, 20, 30,000 birds. And yun nga, as birders, binibilang namin yung birds. Ito, 30,672. Pero syempre, we have our own methods of doing that. So nearby areas, yung pinakamalapit na good wetland is the Las Piñas Parañaque Wetland Park, which is in Las Piñas. As yung other nearby ones are in Pampanga, sa Candaba, and the Pampanga River. So next slide, please. Next, yun. So yun, ito yung mga examples ng wetland birds. So if you look at the bottom left, yan yung Philippine duck, which is one of the only endemic duck in the Philippines. Okay, next slide. So yung final location natin ay ang urban spaces at yung urban jungles and green spaces. So yung maganda dito ay sobrang lapit lang ng mga urban spaces at yung mga urban jungles. So lalabas ka lang ng bahay at for sure makakakita ka rin ng ibon. So yung mga ibon dito, since syempre honestly medyo destructive yung mga human practices, yung mga ibon na to mas adapted at mas matibay sila to human interference. So syempre, this isn't an exact habitat type. So if you live near the rice field sa mga Bulacan or kung malapit ka sa Pasig River, iba yung mga ibon na makikita mo. So yung mga malalapit na urban spaces are, syempre, sa labas ng bahay ninyo, UP Diliman, QC Circle, tapos marami sa golf courses and subdivision since medyo mapuno pa sila. Next, please. Next, please. Ayun. So yun, maganda rin naman yung mga urban birds. One of the favorite the urban bird that gets a lot of people to start birding is yung black nape oriole na ang very bright yellow. Yung other birder friends ko, they call it the flying mango kasi pag nakita mo, may parang lumilipad na mangga. Okay, next please. So paano ba tayo nagbe-birdwatch? So ang philosopher answer doon ay you watch the bird. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. So ayun, you watch the bird. So hindi lang to you won't just look at the birds. So yung ginagawa rin namin is ino-observe talaga natin yung mga habits nila. And sometimes we love to listen to their calls since yung iba very musical talaga yung mga calls nila. So syempre we need our 2 sense of sight and sound. Pero for the equipment naman, we need yung pinaka-important for me is the binoculars. So yung mga binoculars give mga times 8 to 12 times zoom. So matitingnan talaga natin yung mga detalye ng ibon. Nakakatulong rin ang scope since basically they're extra high-powered binoculars. So umaabot sila ng times 70 na zoom. Pero usually, sinishare lang namin 1 per group. And usually yung bird club naman yung nagdadala. Useful rin ang pagkaroon ng notebook. So pwede tayo mag-take ng notes. At kung mas artistic ka, pwede natin i-drawing yung ibon. Importante rin ang mga field guides. So ito yung mga libro ng mga listahan ng mga species na mahanap sa Pilipinas. So kailangan yan para ma-identify natin yung mga species na nakikita natin. Pero once more familiar ka na with the species, syempre kahit wala ng field guides, yung mga super expert, sila na yung mga walking field guides sila. So, and that brings me to yung camera. So, pag hindi natin ma-ID, kahit may field guide tayo, pwede natin picturean yung ibon. Tapos isend na lang sa mga expert. And syempre, with the camera, pwede natin ma-capture yung kagandahan ng ibon sa natural habitat natin. And finally, may ginagamit kaming website called ebird.org, which is it's a website made by Cornell University. And it's used to record all our bird sightings. So, dinidetalye namin yung anong nakita, saan, ilan, and what time natin nakita. So, yung maganda dyan is nakakatulong tayo sa mga biologists na nag-aaral ng ibon para malaman nila yung habits. And with that, sana ma-conserve nila better. Alam nila yung mga priority sites to conserve. So, paggagamit ng eBird is one of the best examples of citizen scientists. So, kahit ako hindi ako ornithologist or someone who studies birds, I can help the ornithologists give them information on what bird species are found in the Philippines and their habits. So in this picture, the person to the left, his name is Richard. Yung maganda kay Richard is he's in Ilocos. He's like one of the few birders in Ilocos. And he's added so much to science because yung mga iba, he's discovered lots of migrants na never before recorded in the Philippines. So kahit siya, sorry Richard, he's just an old man, but he has helped so much in the discovery of so many new species in the Philippines. Next, please. So finally, ang pinaka-importante for me talaga is maghanap ng grupo para mag-birdwatch. So, syempre, this group is called Wild Bird Club of the Philippines. So, yung Wild Bird Club of the Philippines, we help organize trips, facilitate sharing and discussion, and we teach newbie birders how to bird. So, I think birdwatching, medyo intimidating siya. Hindi mo malalaman anong species yan, or paano nga ba mag-spot? Kasi minsan sobrang layo rin ng mga ibon. So, with the club, we'll help you, we'll show you the ropes on how to start birdwatching. So, we also have lots of online resources, birdwatch.ph and many more. And yung maganda sa club is we have lots of experts and even biologists, bird guides. So we really learn from the best and brightest sa bird club. And yung maganda rin sa bird club is we have a lot of educational events, and we really advocate for the protection of mga wetlands, forests, and all the other habitats of the birds, not just for us, but for the communities that rely and live on them. So ayun, turning it over to Gwenso to tell about how the clothing for bird watching.
Okay, thank you, Cheta. All right, so what I'm going to share this time is a little bit about fashion. Okay? There, what to wear and what not to wear. Tips on birding fashion. This is important. So, all right, I was told during my first bird trip, don't wear bright colors, ha? Huwag kang magsuot ng bright, matatakot yung mga ibon. So fine, I wore this on my very first birding trip. And it was years later when I became very serious about bird watching na nakita ko itong libro. Hindi pala appropriate ang magputi because white is still bright. So, well, okay, I learned. See, this is a no-no. Siyempre, when you wear white, presko siya, you know, lalo na pag pumunta ka sa forest, it's very hot. But the thing is, it's not suitable. So, I did the right thing. I went out and bought green. My hatest color. Green is the color that I don't like, but I did it. But another blooper, I bought sleeveless. Apparently, when you go bird watching, talagang bilad sa araw, you won't notice the passage of time by looking at all the birds. So I got a really bad sunburn. So apparently, I should buy long sleeves or wear arm sleeves, just like all these other birders. There. So I learned my lesson. Yan. May cap na, arm sleeves. My shoes are serious trek shoes. I don't even wear sneakers. And then I bought cargo pants, which I never wore before. Kasi maraming bulsa, so marami kang pwedeng ilagay doon. So yan, natuto na ako. Apparently, why the earth color, the neutral, earthy colors? Because you want to break your outline so the birds don't see you, so that you don't scare them off. So it's important to be camouflaged. So right now, my closet, ganito na itsura ng closet ko. Dati, ang damit ko puro pula, fuchsia, tangerine, vermilion, because I like bright. Now my closet looks like this. Right. But I had a problem. Ang hirap bumili ng mga damit na ganito, lalo na pang ladies. So I had to go to the ground floor men's department of Landmark so I can buy yung mga ganyang kulay. And then my fashionista friends, I remember always giving me advice, Gwen, ha? Never wear green and brown. Magmumukha kang puno, okay? You're gonna look like a tree. Wag kang mag-wear ng green and brown combination. But when I became a birder, I had to. I really had to look like a tree. So there. Now, one tip. Pumunta ako sa Antipolo, sa Mount Puro. Dressed na dressed ako, camouflage pa yung blouse ko. Sabi sa akin ng manager, naku ma'am, huwag kayong magsusuot ng ganyan. Sabi ko, bakit? Magbabirding lang naman ako ah. And then, it took me a few seconds before I understood Sabi niya, kasi ma'am, baka mapagkamalan kayo. Oh, okay. So pag alanganin pala yung lugar, you're not supposed to wear, camouflage. All right? Or camouflage. So, our participants now in Zoom, I have a request for you. You have a minute. Find anything in your closet. Go and get something. It could be a shirt or a hat or a bandana. Do you have anything in your closet that you think can be suitable for bird watching? And then open your camera, turn it on, and then show us, please. Baka pag nagustuhan ko, I might just take you out for a bird trip. Okay, go. Can you get something, guys? Come on, kuha kayo something that you have or baka suot nyo na sa katawan nyo. Sige kayo, ha? If you're in Manila, I'm gonna bring you to a bird trip. Libre. May binoculars ako.
Ayan, meron.
Ayan, nagpapakita. Oh. Hi, Ayan.
Ano? Ano yan, sapatos?
Shorts ba yan? Hiking shorts?
Tagalan mo naman sa camera. Ayan, ano pa? Wala, yung iba, tumatakbo pa. Wala pa sila sa harap ng computer. Okay, well, sige, let's wait for them to show us later. All right, so are they there or are they not? So I can turn it over already to Trinket. Ah, ano yan? Shirt. Okay, correct color. Iyan. Tama yan. Tama yung color na yan. Okay. Let's turn it over now to Trinket. Unless the people are still searching for things in their closet.
Tinatakbo mo
Ayun,
sila
si
sa
Melda may
cabinet.
hawak.
Melda.
Uy, yung kay Melda, ang ganda. Ano yan?
Melda, ano yan?
Si Melda, ano yan? Nice.
Mukha na akong flower.
Okay.
Sama na ako.
Okay, you're camouflage.
Flower.
Sige, pwede. Camouflage ka na. Camouflage ka na. Okay, Trinket, turning it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Gwen. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so good evening. So, like Robbie said, my name is Trinket Constantino. I've been a birder since 2005. So, noong 2005, no, nakita ko tong ibon na to sa garden namin. Itong ibon na nasa screen. Tapos, I've been living in this house matagal na kaming nakatira dito. Pero ngayon ko lang nakita yung ibon na yan. Tapos obviously, hindi siya yung mayang usually kong nakikita. Tapos parang ang bibo-bibo ng ibon. Lipad siya ng lipad, nag-a-acrobatic siya. So sabi ko, ano kaya tong ibon na to? Hindi ko siya alam. So nag-google ako, no? Wala pa yata ang Google nun. Baka Yahoo search ako or something. So nag-Yahoo search ako, hinahanap ko tong ibon na to kung ano siya. And then I found the Wild Bird Club of the Philippines. So kagaya nga na sabi ni Cheta at saka ni Gabbi, nakahanap ako ng mga taong parang ako na mahilig manood rin ng ibon. So before that, mahilig na talaga ako sa nature, no? Pero wala sa concept ko yung birdwatching. So nag-start akong magsimulang birdwatching. Tapos mula nun, kaming dalawa ng husband ko, si Adri, na-addict na kami sa birdwatching. As in, umiikot kami sa buong Pilipinas. Tumitingin kami ng mga ibon all over the Philippines na before I became a birdwatcher, wala akong idea na ganun pala kadami yung ibon sa Pilipinas. Ang dami-dami pala. So, naging exciting yung buhay ko. Well, in my opinion. So, in this presentation, I just want to share through my experience sa aming garden, yung mga common backyard garden birds or urban birds that you might also encounter. Tapos magkukwento rin ako tungkol sa mga features ng garden namin na nakaka-attract sa mga ibon. So yung mga letrato dito, yung mga video, galing to dito sa garden namin. Nakatira ako sa Quezon City. Baka kayo sa ibang lugar, iba yung experience nyo. Pero ito yung sa experience ko. So, I'm very lucky na nakatira ako sa isang bahay na may backyard. Dito ako lumaki. Mula nung 1980s pa kami nakatira dito. But before the mula nung 1980 hanggang naging birdwatcher in 2005, hindi ko talaga napapansin na ang dami palang ibon. Nung naging birdwatcher lang ako, doon ko napansin na madaming ibon. So, maswerte ako kasi nakatira ako sa isang residential area na marami pang bakanting lote. So, marami pang green areas. Tapos yung mga residents dito, lalo na yung mga kasabayan naming lumipat dito, meron din silang maliliit na garden. Yung mother ko, she's a gardener. So she likes tinkering around in the garden, she likes planting. So medyo siguro nakuha ko rin yung love for nature ko sa kanya. Pero, syempre, hindi ako nakaka-spend ng as much time sa garden kasi, syempre, pag nagtatrabaho ka, aalis ka, madilim pa, diba? Tapos uuwi ka ng bahay, madilim na. Tapos pag weekend, dahil nga birder kami, ang aga na yung magising, lalayas na kami ng husband ko, pupunta na kami, magbirding na kami. Pero, syempre, nung quarantine, just like it's a shared experience among all of us. Hindi na kami makalabas. We were trapped in our house and we rediscovered our backyard. So, yung paglakad ko sa umaga bago magtrabaho online, saka kapag may break sa trabaho, nagtitingin-tingin ako ng ibon sa labas, it became a very important stress and anxiety reliever for me during the community quarantine. So, naisip ko, kahit sa backyard, marami kang makikita, maraming lessons in natural history and observation. Tapos ang pinakamaganda sa lahat, doon ako mismo nakatira sa backyard ko. So lalabas, sabi nga ni Cheta, lalabas lang ako. Nandun na sila. So, isipin mo, sa Quezon City, di ba? Ano bang wildlife ang makikita mo sa Quezon City? Yung wildlife and city living, hindi sila normally associated with each other. Iisipin mo, city. So may maya, may kalapate, may daga, may ipis. Yun yung mga naiisip mo, hindi sila mga pleasant experiences normally, di ba? But in our garden, we actually have several different animals and wildlife living there. When I see fruit bats, yung nasa top left side, when I see fruit bats na nagro-roost sa mga puno namin, tuwan-tuwa ako kasi imagine mo may mga bats na natutulog dun sa bahay namin. Other people won't like that, pero ako, I enjoy it. And then of course, there are different types of butterflies that go to the garden and visit the flowers. And then dragonflies. Nung bata ako, parang ang dami-daming dragonflies sa school, pero ngayon madalang na lang ako makakita. So pag nakakakita ako sa garden ko, tuwan-tuwa ako na merong dragonflies doon. Tapos meron din mga bubuli, yung mga skinks, tsaka iba-ibang palaka. Parang 7 kinds of frogs na yung nakita namin sa garden. So excited na excited ako pag nakikita ko sila. Bakit? Because the presence of wildlife sa garden namin, it's a testimony na naka-achieve ka ng some sort of balance with the natural world tsaka with the man-made artificial environment. So it still serves as a home for these wildlife. So a variety of birds will, siyempre itong talk na to, magko-concentrate ako sa ibon, diba? Dahil birdwatching. So, a variety of birds will visit you at home. Siguro kung tatanungin ko kayo, anong ibon ang meron sa backyard nyo? Automatically, ang sasagutin, itong maya, diba? Kasi lahat maya. Parang before the world of birding opened up to me, lahat na nakikita ko maya, lahat sila brown bird. But beyond the maya, itong Eurasian tree sparrow, dito sa garden namin, more than 50 species na yung na-record namin. Siyempre, dun sa 50 species na yan, merong minsan lang nakita or baka accidental record lang or napadaan lang. Dun sa 50 species na yun, mga 10 to 15 regularly namin nakikita. So, dito sa presentation na to, tonight, I'll be showing you 15 birds that we will be seeing in our garden. So, para tong virtual tour ng aming garden ang ipapakita ko sa inyo. So, if you want to watch birds in your garden, a good question to ask is, bakit ba pupunta yung mga ibon sa garden? Anong meron dito sa likod ng bahay ko na pupuntahan ng mga ibon? So, pag alam mo kung ano yung pupuntahan ng ibon sa garden mo, alam mo kung saan mo sila hahanapin at papanuurin. So first, itong black-naped oriole na na-mention kanina ni Cheta, yung flying mango, kumakain siya ng higad. So pinapagpagpag niya yung higad na yan dun sa branch para matanggal yung balahibo. Nakakatuwa siyang panuurin. So food, birds will come to your garden because there's food there, not just insects or small animals, but food provided, for example, by the plants. So meron kang fruit-eating birds, meron kang nectar-drinking birds, and the like. So pupunta sila doon for food. Ito naman susunod, yung yellow-vented bulbul. So natatawa yung mga tao pag sinasabi naming bulbul, di ba? Pero it's actually just a Persian word for nightingale. So itong yellow-vented bulbul or kulkul or luklak, ito siguro yung second most common na ibon na makikita mo sa urban areas after the maya. Tapos kita mo dyan, enjoy na enjoy silang naliligo. So if you have water in your garden, the water is not just for drinking but for bathing also. So kita mo, enjoy na enjoy yung mga bulbul na maligo sa water bath namin. Third, shelter. So itong ibon na nakikita nyo, itong coppersmith barbet or pokpok kasi yung tunog niya, pok, 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 pok. So tinawag siyang pokpok bird. Nakikita nyo, nasa pugad siya, nasa butas siya sa nara sa likod ng bahay namin. So dito siya nagpugad, nangitlog, saka dyan niya pinalaki yung mga inakay niya. So nests, hindi lang yung butas na ganyan, pero yung nest na normal na made out of sticks and twigs na in a tree or in a bush. kapag nagne-nest kapag may appropriate nesting areas yung mga ibon, pupunta sila sa garden nyo to seek shelter. Hindi lang nesting, pati yung pagpapahingahan nila, kung saan sila natutulog sa gabi. So, usually yung mga ibon, magne-nest lang sila pag breeding. Pero kailangan pag gabi, meron din silang pupuntahan na puno kung saan sila matutulog. So lahat ng ito, yung pagkain, yung pag-inom, pagligo, pag-shelter, if the birds feel that your garden is a safe place to stay in, pupunta sila sa garden mo. So itong galansyang, no, Asian glossy starling, this is a young bird, may stripes pa siya. But the adult is all glossy, metallic, black-green. Tapos pulang-pula yung mata niya. Minsan tinatawag siyang vampire bird dahil it has such red eyes. You see it stretching and preening. So this is a behavior that says na kalmadong-kalmado yung aso, yung ibon sa backyard mo. He doesn't feel threatened. So if they're able to eat, drink, and nest in your area and they feel safe, they will come to your garden and you can observe very interesting behaviors. So, ano ba ang provide ng lahat na yon? Food, water, and shelter. Siyempre, yung mga halaman sa garden nyo. So, sometimes we have to think of planting for the birds. So, etong kulasisi, we have parrots in the city. Hindi nyo siguro napapansin kasi green sila. It's also called the Philippine hanging parrot. And from the photo, you can see why. Diba? Nakasabit siyang pabaliktad. Gustong-gusto namin yung kulasisi na bumibisita sa garden, pero madalas, lumilipad lang siya. Parang sit, dumadaan lang siya. Pero pag namumunga yung rambutan namin, ay kahit na 2 oras, nandun lang siya sa puno kumakain. So, na-observe namin siya. So, isa yan sa mga highlights ng aming garden. So, plants will provide fruits, nectar, seeds, even insects for the birds to eat. Kapag nag-garden, pag inaayos mo yung garden mo, isipin mo yung mga ibon, iba-iba yung pinupuntahan nilang area. So diversity in the garden, not only with the kinds of plants you plant, but also with the structure. So meron kang damuhan, meron kang lawn, meron kang low bushes, meron kang medium-sized trees or taller trees. Kasi yung iba-ibang ibon will occupy different areas in the garden. So for example, itong mga bato-bato or zebra doves. Minsan tawag sa kanila kurukutok kasi yun yung sound nila. Kurukutok, kurukutok. You might see them walking in the grass or kahit sa sidewalk, makikita mo yan, naglalakad-lakad lang sila mag-isa or pairs or small groups. Tapos nanginginain sila dyan. Usually, makikita mo sila sa baba. Minsan sa bubong, minsan sa puno. Pero madalas sa baba mo sila nakikita. So, fruit-eating birds will be attracted to the fruits in the garden. So, for example, itong kulasisi, no? Nakikita nyo nga siya dito sa baba, kumakain siya. Ayan, makikita mo siya, kumakain siya ng rambutan. Bukod sa rambutan, yung iba niyang kinakain, yung makopa, yung sampalok, tapos na-mention ko na rin yung yellow-vented bulbul, yung luklak. Ito sa baba, kumakain siya ng mangga. Dito, kumakain siya ng, kumakain siya ng palm fruit. Tapos, itong duhat, kumakain siya. Tapos, itong, pokpok bird. Dito sa right side, makikita nyo, may dala-dala siyang mga lemonsito. Dadalhin niya yan actually dun sa mga inakay niya na pinapakain niya. Tapos itong balete, wala kaming balete pero yung kapitbahay namin may baleteng malaki. Nung namumunga siya nung June, ang ingay-ingay, ang daming ibong pumupunta doon. Nandyan yung Asian glossy starling na nakikita sa picture, pero pati yung mga bulbul, yung mga Martinez, kulasisi, ang dami nilang nagkakagulo doon sa balete. So rinig na rinig namin sila the whole day. So maganda, may fruits kayo na will fruit all year around siya. Tapos, meron din mga ibon na hindi yung fruits yung kinakain, nectar drinker sila. So, ang pinaka-common sigurong ma-encounter sa cities ay yung sunbirds or yung pipit. Minsan sinasabi sa akin, uy, may nakita akong hummingbird sa likod ng bahay namin. Pero wala kasi tayong mga hummingbird dito sa Asia, sa Americas lang yon. Pero mukha kasi siyang hummingbird dahil mahaba yung tuka niya na manipis, which is what they use to sip nectar from the plant. So, itong mga halikonya, yung mga birds of of paradise, yung mga saging, gustong-gusto nila yan. Dito sa taas yung red na flower, that's a native plant, yung liya o mali-mali. Gustong-gusto nila yan. In fact, yung bulbul, kaagaw nila dyan. So itong mga nasa pictures, lalaki lahat yan na sunbird. You see, they have that very distinctive blue. Pero itong nasa video, lumipad na siya, no? Para talagang birding. Lumipad na siya. Itong nasa video sa baba, ito yung babae. Yan, makikita mo dilaw lang siya. So yan yung mga sunbirds. So nectaring plants are also important. Yung mga bulbul, kumakain din yan ng nectar. Yung mga kulasisi, yung flowers mismo, kinakain nila. So iba-iba rin yung na-attract. Sometimes it's not just about the fruits or the flowers or what food the plant directly provides. Ito si tarat, no? Migratory bird to. That's common across several habitats. Nasa bundok siya, nasa grassland, sa gubat, pati sa backyard natin. Ang pangalan niya tarat. Kasi again, yung tunog niya, tat. So nung September, no, nung nagdadatingan yung mga tarat, yung mga birders, nag-uunahan silang mag-report na may tarat na sa likod ng bahay nila. Yung tarat, it's medyo little bird of prey, kumakain siya ng mga small animals. Pero hindi niya kayang hawakan yung mga animals dun sa paa niya at saka sa bibig niya, lalo na kung gumagalaw-galaw pa yung mga hinuhuli niya. So gustong-gusto niya yung mga may tusok-tusok, thorny plants like the calamansi or the bougainvillea. Kahit nga yung barbed wire, gusto niya. Kasi nakita niyo dyan, yung ahas, tinusok niya dun sa thorn para madali niyang makain. So, gustong-gusto namin tinitingnan kung ano yung mga nahuhuli nung brown shark, no? Nakikita namin sa likod ng bahay namin kung anong nahuhuli niya. Dito sa video, makikita nyo, kumakain siya ng butiki. Tapos, nakakahuli rin siya ng palaka, ng ahas. May isda pa nga, hindi namin alam kung saan niya nakuha yung isda. Ayan. Tapos, itutusok niya lahat sa halaman. Tapos yan, kakainin niya. Yum. Yan, yung butike. So, by looking at what the brown shrike is keeping dun sa larder niya, dun sa stock niya, nalalaman rin namin kung ano-ano yung iba-ibang animals na normally mahirap makita sa backyard namin. Tapos, itong mga animals na to, kinakain rin sila ng ibang ibon. Kunyari, yung mga kingfisher, kinakain rin yan. Yung mga martinez, kinakain rin yan. Planting of course attracts insects. Any gardener will know that, diba? And the insects attract your insect-eating birds. So dito maraming mga bagong ibon tayong makikita na hindi ko pa na-mention. Ito yung crested myna or yung martinez. Iba-iba yung kinakain yan, pero kumakain rin siya ng insekto. Dito parang may nahuli siyang some worm sa damuhan. Tapos itong collared kingfisher. Yung collared kingfisher, hindi naman laging fish lang ang kinakain niya. Bakit may kingfisher? Diba? Hindi naman ako nakatira sa tabi ng ilog or sa dagat. Pero yung collared kingfisher, kumakain rin yan ng insekto, ng maliliit na animals. Tapos itong pied thriller, black and white na bird siya, gustong-gusto niya yung mga insekto. So yan, yung pied fantail na minention ko kanina, yung Maria Capra, makita mo may hawak siya nung yung mga butterfly na pinapanood namin, ang galing niyang hulihin. Itong video, makikita ninyo isang woodpecker, talagang nanggigigil siya, nagdidig siya sa wood. Anong hinahanap niya? Naghahanap siya ng grub. Ay, sorry. Naghahanap siya ng grub. Ay, saan ba? Ulitin natin. Naghahanap siya ng grubs na nandun sa wood. So, dinidig niya yung wood, naghahanap siya ng mga insektong nandun. Makita niyo may makukuha siya. Hindi niya kakainin, pero iaabot niya sa kasama niya. Yun, may nakuha siya. Sinabot niya. And then these little small birds, yung golden-bellied gerygony, they have a very pleasant call. I hear them every morning. Sweet, 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 ganyan. Naghahanap rin sila ng mga insects. So that's added for us to compost. Kasi in the compost, it attracts insects, which attracts other animals, and these animals attract birds. So we compost our vegetable waste, our eggshells, and also our garden waste. Tapos parang buffet to para dun sa pied fantail. nakita yon, tumatalon-talon siya. Nanghuhuli lang siya nanghuhuli ng ibon. Kita niyo yung bakura nung compost, puro tae niya kasi nakatambay lang talaga siya dyan. And hindi man niya kailangan lumipad, ayun, kinukuha-kuha lang siya ng ibon. Pati yung mga animals na na-attract ng compost, ayan, yung collared kingfisher. Nakabantay lang yan dun sa fence namin. Naka-stare. We see him staring at our compost, waiting for a lizard or maybe a skink or any small animal na makukuha niya dun sa compost namin. So added, aside from reducing our waste, nakaka-attract pa kami ng ibon, di ba? Alright. Tapos, isa sa mga favorite ko ay nanonood ng mga ibong naliligo. So, ito, hindi ko alam ilan ba. Hindi ko masyadong makita yung buong screen ko. Pero maraming yellow-vented bulbul yan. Gustong-gusto nilang naliligo. Nakapila pa sila. Sabi nga ng mommy ko, buti pa itong mga ibon na to. They take turns. They line up to take a bath in the bird bath. So, pag naliligo sila, talagang mapapanood mo sila. So we keep little ponds in our garden where the birds can bathe. We keep them clean. Meron yung mga isda para walang kiti-kiti. Siguro nagkaka-heart attack lang yung mga isda tuwing maliligo yung mga ibon. Pero okay naman sila para walang kiti-kiti. And then we maintain them. So bukod sa, eto makikita niyo yung yellow-vented bulbul, naliligo siya. Enjoy siya maliligo. Parang buti pa siya may swimming pool. Aside from bathing, the zebra dove, yung bato-bato, minsan umiinom siya doon. Yung mga maya, umiinom sila, naliligo sila. Tapos, pero ang pinakamadalas talaga sa bird bath, yung yellow-vented bulbul, saka yung Maria Capra. Pinupuntahan rin siya ng mga ibang ibon, yung mga oriole, yung mga martinez, yung mga flower pecker, pumupunta rin yan sa bird bath. So really, if you keep your wild spaces in the garden, maa-attract talaga yung mga ibon. So kailangan mag-make ka ng compromise. Kailangan yung backyard mo, medyo i-keep mo a little bit overgrown, wag mo masyadong i-manicure because keeping it wild is what makes it attractive, of course, to wildlife. So, lagi kaming nag-aaway niya ng mommy ko kasi siya, syempre gardener siya. She likes to manicure, she likes to trim. And then me, I say, sometimes you have to keep some areas a little bit wild. Parang itong mga yellow-vented bulbul, may nest sila kasi nakatago yung nest. There's enough vegetation to hide the nest from predators like cats or crows or even from the people na dumadaan-daan. Ayaw nila syempre na i-istorbo sila. So if your garden is wild enough to provide what I mentioned before, food, shelter, water, and all the behaviors that allow the birds to perform in a safe environment, they will come to your garden. So sometimes you really have to compromise. Ano ba yan? Meron kang mga insekto sa garden, di ba? Meron kang palaka, meron kang ahas, meron kang mga bubuli. Ang gulo-gulo ng garden mo, mukha na siyang gubat. But something you shouldn't compromise is safety. So, don't over-manicure. Leave some dead branches on the tree. Yan si Gwen, di ba? May dead tree siya. Tinitingnan niya lahat ng ibon na pumupunta doon because they like perching there. But, of course, if the tree is already a threat to your safety and to your property, then that's the time that you should manicure. Maybe during nesting season, huwag kayong masyadong mag-trim para yung mga ibon may tataguan. And, of course, kunyari, yung mga things like avoiding the use of pesticides, this is good for all wildlife in the garden overall. So, get to know your neighbors, but don't get too noisy. Wag naman yung in your face na. The photographs we took here are taken with long lenses, and then the videos we use a spotting scope attached to the phone that you can see there. Kasi nobody naman likes a nosy neighbor, right? So, make sure that you learn to recognize when your presence is already stressing the wildlife or stressing the birds. So it's nice to watch the garden, be outside, but learn to respect also the wild animals' boundaries. The thing is, if you're always outside, the animals will come to accept you as part of the garden. So hindi na sila matatakot sa inyo, and you learn to live with each other. So the garden can be a great starting place for practicing birding skills. There's really a lot to learn, even in urban areas. Your garden can be a garden like ours, as a backyard patio, rooftop garden, or yung gardens or green spaces sa mga subdivisions or parks. Like what Cheta said, in urban environments, any place is a good start to practice birding skills. And above all, really, observing birds and wildlife is a great way to relax and get in touch with nature, especially now that movement is very challenging. I've never appreciated my backyard more. So, yun lang, get up, look outside, and bird. The goal in the end is to relax and to enjoy. So, nurture your garden, nurture your wild neighbors, and you also nurture yourself. And for sure, there are surprises to be discovered. So I mentioned 15 birds in my talk. I don't know if you remembered any of them, but those are 15 birds that you might want to look out for in urban areas. Try niyong i-type kung naaalala ninyo kung 15, yung 15 na minention ko.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. We had a very fun time with 4 of our very good birders. We have Cheta, we have Gabbi, we have Gwen, and we have Trinket. So just to summarize things, we do birding because we love nature. Okay, so, and it also allows us to realize what's there outside of us. And in some form, it's actually a good way to stay healthy because number one, it gives you exercise and it allows you to be stress-free. Okay, I have some friends who do birding just to lower their blood pressure. Okay, so when do we do birding? It's always in the morning, but at the same time, pwede din naman sa gabi. Maraming kung kailan sa buong Pilipinas merong ibon. Yun yung maganda sa atin sa birding. Kahit saan ka pumunta sa Pilipinas, merong ibon na dapat mong makita. And saan pwedeng pumunta dito sa Manila? Kung marami siguro sa atin nandito sa Manila, nandiyan lang po. Pwede po tayo pumunta sa park, pwede po pumunta sa golf courses kung malapit kayo dyan, or pwede po kayong maglakad lang sa inyong mga neighborhoods. You will see birds all around us. Equipment, well, ang pinaka-basic na equipment po, ang mata at ang tenga. Yun po yung kinakailangan natin. Pero kung gusto mo enhanced vision, then use your binoculars. Then, if we're going to, mas masarap po kung meron tayong kasama. So we're here. The Wild Bird Club of the Philippines is here, and masarap po kaming kasama kung gusto niyo po mag-birding. Kung kung sinabi ni Gwen kanina, ano ba yung mga suot natin? Pag magsusuot po tayo, bawal puti, bawal pula. Yung drab lang po, yung simple lang. Our earth colors are the best. And Trinket showed us, dito lang pala sa Quezon City, sa likod ng bahay nila, ang dami. Isipin mo, 50, 50 species all around. But at the same time, eto po yung mga plantitos at mga plantitas po natin dito. Siguro, Hobbs, maganda naman kung wild ang ating mga linalagay. Nangangailangan po ng mga ibon ng saan sila magbe-build ng kanilang pugad. Nangangailangan sila ng swimming pool, kahit lang po yung maliit. And at the same time, nangangailangan po sila ng pagkain. Kung tayo ho ay seryoso sa ating birding, start with your own backyard. Start planting trees na magbibigay ng pagkain sa kanila, ng shelter, ng water, and at the same time, safety. Kaya, kung meron ho kayong alagang pusa, ito po yung yung tip sa inyo, kasi meron din ho kami. Lagyan ho ng bell ang pusa para habang naglalakad siya, naririnig siya ng mga ibon. Hindi siya pwede mag-stalk. Okay, so right now, we're now open to questions para ho sa ating mga viewers. Meron ho dito sa Zoom. Sino po ang gustong mag-start. Chinek ko po kanina sa chat natin ay parang kukonti po yung mga question.
Pwede
Meron pong gusto
mag-unmute, ha? Pwede mag-unmute yung mga participants natin.
Yes, I have a
Okay.
question for Trinket.
Go ahead.
Okay, please.
Yeah,
Please.
is providing nesting boxes okay to provide shelter for the birds?
Sorry, I was answering your question on the chat box.
Uh-huh.
Actually, in the Philippines kasi hindi very popular yung nest boxes, unlike in other countries that they really know what design will attract certain types of birds. So
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure kung meron, baka we can try. I don't know kasi wala naman talagang regularly gumagawa. Some people, they provide like nest boxes good for owls kasi the owls, they like dark places, right? And in the city, wala masyado. So yung mga designs I see from other countries for the owls, I think nag-work in some areas. Pero I haven't heard of it being used in an urban area. Tapos dati may club member, she tried putting nest boxes. She's from Santa Rosa. And I think Philippine Magpie Robin used it. But aside from those anecdotal, I don't think nest boxes are very popular yet here. So maybe we can try and see which species will take para alam rin natin. Of course, as with all things, keeping a nest box or providing water, the important thing is we make sure that everything is clean and we don't spread disease among the birds.
Okay, thank you.
Try natin para alam natin kung
Oo nga.
baka maya lang gagamit, Kasi sila yung mahilig sa mga gutter-gutter. Pero malay mo, meron gumamit.
Sa seaper.
Okay, wait.
Alright, thank you.
We have a question here.
Before, we provide, like when I used to have 3 Labradors. So alam nyo naman yung mga asong yon, pag nagsuklay ka, parang may bagong aso kang makakreate sa dami ng buhok nila. We leave it out and the birds actually get their hair to put in their nest. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, thanks.
Okay, meron tayong isang question dito. How can I join birding? Dati akong nagba-birdwatch and counting as part of my previous job. But now I am not involved in birding activity. I really miss birding. Okay, so this is, I hope I pronounce it right, Abhay Sharan Tunyakaw. Okay, so from the Wild Bird Club, who would like to answer?
Yeah, let's take him bird watching. Sige, Abhay, you leave your number. We'll take you. Sama ka.
Once na pwede na
Join ka.
mag-ikot-ikot, let's do bird watching. Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
so meron pa dito isa pang question. How do we start a bird bath? Okay, Trinket. You have, I think, one of the very nice bird baths there.
Yeah, so when I started the bird bath, I just really tried it out, no? Kasi like nga the nest, parang hindi naman, the nest boxes, hindi naman masyadong popular here. So I just followed the usual things. So kapag gagawa ka ng bird bath, it should be shallow. Kasi pag malalim, the birds will be afraid to use it. It should be shallow and it shouldn't be a slippery surface. Minsan ginagamit rin nila yung dog dishes namin, but that's very shallow. So make sure it's not slippery para hindi sila dumalas. And then, it should be in an area na maraming perches. Kasi after nilang maligo, they like shaking off. And they like perching kung saan nila nakikita yung surroundings nila para hindi sila hindi sila mabibigla kasi may pusa pa lang nag-aabang sa kanila. So it should be in an area which is open and sunny. And then of course, with regards to safety, yun nga, if you don't put fish in your bird bath, make sure that you clean it regularly. I put guppies, as in yung guppies canal, because they're very hardy, diba? Yung mga guppies na nahuhuli sa canal, they're very hardy. Yun nga, feeling ko nagkaka-heart attack sila every time may darating na fish. So I place the stones, magandang may stones rin kasi for them to perch on. In such a way, para yung mga fish pwedeng magtago sa ilalim. Or I place plants para magtatago yung fish sa ilalim. when you put a bird bath, you have to be very patient. I think a lot of us, we were talking about it this quarantine, di ba, yung setting. You have to be very patient kasi suspicious yung mga ibon sa una. Titignan lang nila, pero ayaw nila because it's something new. So you have to be patient that eventually they will come and use it. They won't use it right away.
Okay, meron tayong, thank you very much for that. We have another question from Roderick Buado. Do you have basics for bird rescue? Jobs, I think magkaka-topic ba tayo nito?
The bird rescue, yes. That's one of the topics for the public sessions. Naka-line up na yun, I think next month or at least before, wala pala akong video. After ng ating WBCP Answers Your Question sessions.
Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you very much, Jobs. Okay, so we have another one from Ian Cari Prado. Okay, he's a vet from UPLB. Oh, kamusta, Doki? Okay, I really appreciate bird watching since we do it in Mount Makiling. Napakaswerte po niya for our bird life class. Okay, so what good field guides can you recommend for bird watching to easily identify birds? Eto po, meron tayong isang mag-advertise. Si Trinket. Go, Trinket.
So, kayo nila mag-describe. Patakita ko na lang. Nakita ko sa screen.
Yeah,
sige, yeah.
So,
go.
We have, of course,
Jobs.
the classic.
Yeah, the first one is yung Guide to the Birds of the Philippines ng Philippine Kennedy. Yung mga birders, most birders in the Philippines, or pati yung mga visiting birders, yan ang pinaka-tinitreat namin as the Bible. So that's the yung complete, no? The most complete guide na pero medyo outdated na siya kasi since last siya na-publish, meron ng mga bagong ibon na na-discover. So, naglalabas na ng WBCP ng annex for that. And you can download our bird list, our yearly bird list kung may mga nadagdag dyan. Okay, next book, Trinket. Yan. Nandyan yata, present yata ang asawa ng author niyan. Okay. A Field Guide to Flight, identifying birds of 3 school grounds. That's Ateneo, Miriam, and UP. In my personal opinion, that's one of the best field guides to start with when starting bird watching, especially when you're nasa urban city or urban environment. So napakaganda niyan. It's available through Ateneo Press. May nakakita na yata sa Shopee rin yan. So, we really recommend, kapag nag-guided birdwalk ako for WBCP, when they ask, ano ba magandang field guide, yan ang una kong ituturo. Kasi, yun yung basically makikita mo sa isang urban setting. Next book. Yan. Yan kung naghahawak na yan ang isa sa mga authors niyan, Birds of the Philippines. So, this is this is a photographic guide to the birds of the Philippines. It's not complete. They're coming out with the second edition soon. But ang kagandahan nito is that field guide features photos talaga. So what you will see when you go bird watching is basically kung ano yung nasa pictures na yan. So so the starting yung field guide for urban setting, pero yung dalawa is if you're venturing out, like yun sa question natin kung Mount Makiling, I would recommend those two other guides, yung Kennedy guide and then Birds of the Philippines, yung photographic guide.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So meron tayong mga participants na interesado sa papaanong pag-document ng ating mga ibon. So, halimbawa, itong si Nino Mape from Bicol University.
Yeah.
Okay, so, nagtatanong siya kung pwede ba daw ang cellphone camera para sa bird watching. Meron din tayong isa pa, si Mr. Timothy, na nagtatanong ano kaya mga entry level daw na mga cameras na pwedeng gamitin pang birding.
Pwede nating sagutin yan briefly tonight, but I would suggest na wait to the the in-depth, magkakaroon tayo ng Birders Kapihan, the public session on the technical, on equipment for birdwatching. So, in-depth, piniprepare pa natin yan. But, Adri, nandiyan ba si husband Adri? Husband Adri?
Phone in question na lang natin. Ano daw starting camera? Ano daw, yung mga SX, yung mga bridge cameras,
Yes,
like
bridge
the
cameras.
SX, the Canon SX50. I think a lot of the birders use that.
Gwen, you have
The
a bridge
Nikon
camera. I
T1000.
understand. Can you show it on your
Yeah.
screen? Yes. Let's feature Gwen. Spotlight video. Okay.
So, yung hawak ni Gwen, paki-extend ang lente. Yung hawak ni Gwen ay bridge camera. Extend mo, side view. Yon, side view natin. So, okay. So, that bridge camera allows you to photograph birds at a very longer distance. Kung yung mga gamit namin, like yung bird photographers uses SLR, mas mahaba pa yung reach niyan. Ang nagsasuffer ng konti lang dyan is the quality of the pictures. But if you're starting out, that bridge camera is really, really good. You have the Canon SX60 HS, kung di ako nagkakamali. And then yung mukhang tangke sa kamay is the Nikon P1000 or P900, yung mas maliit. P1000 yung mukhang tangke na sa ano. So those are good. Those are good. Tsaka mas mura yan kaysa sa SLR, then you'll buy a longer lens. Yung setup ni Adri, I think kukuha pa si Adri ng scope. Kukuha ba na si Adri ng scope? Yeah.
Wala na, sa baba yung scope namin.
Okay, please discuss the scope.
Ito na yung mga mabibigat.
Ayan, short lang ha. Short discussion lang. May in-depth tayo. Ayan. Yung
si Gwen, ayan yung scope ni Gwen, no?
Ayan.
Pwedeng combination camera scope or combination binoculars and scope kung you have steady hands.
Yeah, or the scope and then your cell phone camera. Yeah. So yun yung mga please do. Excited rin kami doon sa session na yun kasi we're going to teach you how to what the equipment are and then na rin kung paano siya i-set up. So yung it's going to be a tech session yan. Meron pang dito.
Yung sa lang kasi sa ninyo, ang sa cellphone natin, limited pa yung yung cellphone na mga natin ang ibon kasi usually malalayo. Kaya hindi kakayanin ng cellphone. Ako trinay ko rin yung dati nung nagsisimula pa lang ako. Nung ilalagay ko na sa computer para makita kung ano talaga. Wala, sabog na. Hindi mo na makikita yung details. Kaya ang mas mabuti, konting investment lang sa more on binoculars.
Yeah.
Kasi ang binoculars naman pag kung gusto mo gamitin yun habang buhay, pwede.
So kung meron kayong binoculars, pwede ninyong i-DIY like this. So ito, naghahanap lang kami ng lid ng bote na kasya sa eyepiece ng binoculars. Tapos pwede mo siyang ikabit para mas madali mo siyang.
Galing. Hindi 3D printed yan.
Pwede rin. Kung meron kang sorry, naghahanap lang kami ng mga takip ng
Ganda, okay. Ano pa ba?
Bibili lang kayo ng mga cellphone case.
Yeah, there's an interesting question. Okay, meron pa ba? Tapos meron na yung lumalabas yung mga attachments sa cellphone cameras, yung malilit na lente, tapos may super zoom na.
Yeah, I think si Nina uses something like that.
If you use something like that, please do give us feedback. Hindi pa rin nakaka-testing. We're quite curious sa mga ganyan. May question sa chat, if you don't mind, Robbie. Do you recommend bird feeders on our trees?
Yeah.
Trinket?
From Manix Evangelista.
Yeah, so when I talked about bird food, I talked about plants, right? I like bird houses. Bird feeders here are not very popular as well. Ang mahirap kasi dito, you have to be very careful with bird feeders. Like, what food will you give, right? Sometimes kasi, baka yung ma-attract niya, lalo na in the city, baka maka-attract siya ng pests like daga or kapag hindi mo na-maintain. You can put out grain, darating yung mga maya. You can put out fruits, maybe the yellow-vented bulbuls will come. We're not sure. So, yung provisioning kasi sa America, ganon, it's usually done dahil may winter, di ba? So, the birds don't have too much to eat. Pero sa tropical countries kasi, ako, personally, I'd rather have the natural, like a fruiting tree or a flowering plant rather than provisioning. Again, we can try it out. We have friends who try it out, like they use the hummingbird feeders for sunbirds. Pero you have to be very careful. Kailangan talaga ako kasi hindi ako masipag maglinis eh. Kailangan araw-araw nililinis mo. Kailangan may oras na tatanggalin mo na siya para hindi maging dependent sa yung ibon. Another thing is you don't want to foster the birds to become very attached to people na hindi na sila takot sa tao because it can be used in the wrong way by some people.
Yes. And also, please don't use mealworms. Tama ba? Mealworms.
Oo, and don't introduce things that may
not found in their
become invasive that may become invasive.
Kung hindi naman siya natural diet nila, please do not use that kasi baka wala pang proven studies, but alam mo yun, kung tayo mga tao may kinain na iba, sumasakit ang tiyan natin, I'm sure ganun rin sa ibon. So we don't really
kahit na yung diba? Kahit na yung bread, hindi mo dapat pinapakain sa ibon kasi wala naman siyang nutritional value for the birds. So it's a very hard decision about provisioning artificially because we don't know much about our own
yung
birds.
mga feeders sa US, sa ibang bansa, may science na silang binabak yan. So they know what to feed. Kaya makikita nyo sa US, kapag woodpecker, meron silang ibang pinapakain, yung parang compound. They're not just feeding seeds. So alam mo yun, tread lightly or tread carefully or wag na lang.
Or magtanim na lang.
Magtanim na nga. Yun na lang. Magtanim na lang tayo.
Yeah. Okay, so there's another question coming from FB Live, from Emerson Uy. Are you the only birding club in the Philippines?
No, we're not. Plain and simple, no, we're not. Maraming birding club, but we are the first. Hindi, parang we are the first pure birding club. Yun lang yung pinaka. Then when it started out, yung iba nag-bird photographer, so they formed their own club. But as we can say that we are Wild Bird Club of the Philippines is the first pure birding club in the Philippines. We started way back in 2003.
Pag sinabi namin birding club, nakikita niyo yung photo, yung nasa background ko. Nadidistinguish mo kung sino yung mga birding club kasi ang gamit lang namin usually ay binoculars.
Yeah.
Okay? So yun yung mga mga nasa birding club. Okay, there's another question from FB. How about bird calls? From Twilights, Kindara. How about bird calls? Do you recommend using it?
No. May science kasi dyan. Would anyone want to answer?
Sige. Sa akin, experience ko dati sa this was in Davao Oriental. Tapos nung sa labas ng museum in Mount Hamiguitan, meron silang mga bird calls para mukha daw natural setting. So it's a forest pero meron silang mga speakers na merong mga bird calls. And then ang napapansin ko, walang lumalapit na ibon. Then sinabi ko sa kanila, hindi nyo alam kung ano yung mga bird calls na ni-record ninyo at linalagay dyan. They may be bird calls warning against predators, warning calls, or fighting call, whatever. Hindi natin naiintindihan kung ano sila eh. So, be very careful of bird calls kasi it may be attracting. It can also be something that may lead to a negative impact na pwedeng i-discuss ngayon ni Jobs. Ano yung negative impact?
Pass the mic. Okay. yung knowledge ko is actually passed on from those who I joined the club in 2010. So yung mga knowledge ko na i-share ngayon is yung mga napipick up ko like from sina Trinket and Adri. What I understand sa bird calls kasi is that there are, yung gaya sinabi ni Robbie, may mga certain calls na may warning sila. Tapos if you keep playing calls, it's to attract mate or ganyan. Pero pag merong isang namumugad ng ibon, tapos nag-play kayo ng calls na continuously, ang dating dyan is merong alpha male or the alpha male. So if you keep using bird calls, ang pwedeng mangyari is that yung kung sino man namumugad or kung meron ng pair ng ibon na mag-start na ng pugad nila, matatakot sila kasi merong alpha male dyan. So pwede silang i-abandon nila yung pugad. So there's actually a science to bird calls, and we don't, kami mga bird watchers are really, we avoid bird calls talaga. Kasi nandun na rin yung thrill of, really looking for the bird. Parang analogy nga, we are like hunters, but we don't shed blood. So, if we go through the forest na naglalakad lang, we keep quiet, gusto namin yung ganun. Mas gusto namin yung ganun kaysa yung gagamit ka ng bird calls para lang lumabas yung mga ibon or ma-agitate yung ibon. Okay, so you're actually using bird calls agitates birds.
Nasa stress nila.
Meron bang dadagdag?
Imbis na na gagamitin nila yung time para maghanap ng kanilang pagkain, ang gagawin mo kasi nagbo-bird call ka, iikot niya ng iikot sa iyo, hahanapin niya kung sino yung nagko-call na yon. Pwede siyang mapagod sa kakaikot niya. And ang time niya para mag-hunt ng mga pagkain niya nawala na. So you can actually weaken and stress the birds. Ang pinaiiwasan natin yung pag-stress ng mga ibon. So,
that's the keyword. It's going to stress yung mga ibon.
So, pakalmahin lang natin sila. Let them be. Use your eyes. Okay, so what else here? Do you have guidelines for introducing birding in a protected area? Okay, sino mga taga-DNR dyan at mga taga-DOT? O sinong who would like to answer? Do we have guidelines in introducing birding in a protected area?
I can answer siguro.
MJ, yeah.
Yes. In protected areas, usually you have to coordinate with DNR. Because it's the mandate of DNR to protect that area. So it's very important also that you, aside from coordinating with DNR, you should also let the barangay that covers the area know that you'll be going to the area. Importante yan. Unless it's really well protected na may mga security then, because sometimes accidents happen inside the protected area, lalo na pag masyadong deep forests. No? And of course, you have to coordinate. If there's a need, if it's an area na medyo may mga threats, then you also have to inform the authorities about your visit to the protected area.
Okay, so I think we're down to our last question. Our last question is from Jane Pamasena. Good evening. What particular type of binoculars are recommended for beginning birders? I'm seeing birds around and I really wish seeing them closer without intruding closely sa kanila. Thank you for this very informative session. So we also would like to thank you for having that keyword. Without intruding closely sa kanila. That is very, very important principle po sa birding. Okay, so guys, what would you recommend?
Trinket. Go ahead, Trinket.
A good starting binoculars to start out with is something like 8x42. So the first number is the magnification, right? And then 42 is how bright. The second number will generally show you how bright the image is. So habang lumalaki kasi yung first number, Parang sa Zoom yan, di ba? Konting galaw lang, nawawala na yung ibon. Oo, tsaka yung field of view mo lumiliit. Yung second number naman, kapag nasa forest ka, kung maliit yung first number, madilim, hindi mo nakikita. Kung nasa maliwanag ka lang makikita. So, generally, any 8x42 binoculars is a good starting binocular. So, I think there are, unlike before, there are several shops now where they can get binoculars now locally. They can get them from
Decathlon.
Decathlon.
Amazon.
They can get them
If
from
you can wait for
you
Amazon,
can wait for Amazon.
It's cheap. It's cheap. A Bushnell 8x42 is about 5,500 including shipping na yun.
Tsaka yung mga
So, you research.
local sports shops, I think na specialty shops will already carry a lot of
may isang although hindi ko alam kung open sila during this lockdown, but there's yung cutting edge sa mga malls. They sell Celestrons.
Yes,
we have Shutter Master along Scout Loscano yata, or just a Scout area. I-plug ko na rin, since maraming nagtatanong about the binoculars, yung first tool natin, there's an article on Ibon, yung newsletter ng Wild Bird Club of the Philippines online. There's a really good article na all about bins. If you could, I guess we could post the link dun sa chat room ngayon. Or, teka lang, link posted. We'll post it also on Facebook. But key search lang is i-search nyo yung Ibon. That's Echo Bravo Oscar Nancy, Ibon. Tapos ang gawin nyo lang is all about the bins or Ibon binoculars. And it will take you to the article na Birdwatching 101, all about the bins. It's well written, very detailed. It will explain you to what kind of binoculars you need to buy. Or basta. Ang rule lang dyan is spend as much as you can. Kasi a pair of good binoculars is basically all the tool that you will need to go birdwatching. Yun lang yun. If pangit yung yun, the low-end binocular, yung mga low budget would have low quality optics and hindi kagandahan talaga yung makikita na sa mga binoculars na yon. So try to spend as much, siguro mga 5K, no? Starting 5K, 8K. That's already a good range. You might be shocked. Ang mahal ng binoculars, but then again, sinasabi nga namin, it's the only tool that you will need to start out to enjoy bird watching more. And a good pair of optics or binoculars will give you a lifetime of joy.
Also, kasi maraming nagtatanong, di ba, because sometimes sa bangketa, meron nung mga overrun. Don't get the ones with the tinted lenses.
Yes.
Because that will distort your image.
I started with that. Nagsisi ako.
Ako rin. Ganun.
Tatak, made in China pa yata yung tapos naka-camouflage ka. Proud na proud ako biglang. Wala pala. Walang kwenta.
Tama yung sinabi ni Jobsa na kung mag-i-invest ka talaga, siguro mag-budget ka na ng at least 8,000. Yung 8,000 na yon, sulit na yon.
Super sulit.
Kahit na 10 years mong gagamitin yan, okay lang. I did a mistake na sige, nagsimula muna ako sa medyo mabigat kasi mura lang. So sige 3,000 mamaya. Ang bigat naman pala. O sige. Bumili na naman ako ng isa, 6,000, di 9,000 na maya. Hindi pa rin, mas gusto ko, mas maano. So bumili ako yung gamit ko ngayon is worth 10,000. Pero sa gumastos na ako ng ilan pa bago ako na nakaabot sa aking 10,000. So gumastos ako. Pero kung one time ako ng 10,000 agad ang binili ko, Hindi, ang laki na na-save ko sana. So, medyo ganun lang. Worth it ang investment ng ano.
And to add to that, so alagaan ninyo yung mga binoculars nyo because that is really the tool you will be using the most as a birder.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we have come to the end. Are there more questions? I don't see any questions.
If may questions pa, we can answer them dun sa other sessions. We can message them privately. But yeah.
Oo. Pero I would like to remind everyone na meron tayong ano dito. Meron tayong ginawa dito. I think Gwen, would you like to check kung ano yung mga prices na makukuha nila dito?
You have the slide? Okay, this is for everybody, open for everybody who are be live and also here. Yeah, pakita yung slide, Asik. We have 3 prizes. For those, we will choose the best reply. You send a picture of yourself, put it in Birdwatch community, and birdwatch.ph community page and your Facebook, and then i-public. And then just answer what is the most important thing that you learned in our Kapihan tonight. And then we will choose the 3 best answers. And Asek, where is our slide? It's with you, ba? We have 3 sets of prizes. There's a nice birding journal notebook, and then it has a keychain with it. No, the stickers, bird stickers. Okay, and then the other one is a coloring book with a little bookmark from Ateneo Wild. So pag binuksan mo yun, puro mga birds yan. And then a t-shirt, all right, of the Philippine Bird Fair, and a button. So these are 3, a pin, a button like a pin. So these are the 3 prizes na ibibigay namin. Ipapag-grab namin sa inyo, see? Oh. So yun.
Sige ka, patay ka kung meron dyan international. Sige.
Manila only. Philippines only.
Philippines only. Please put yung hashtag, ha? Hashtag birding with WBCP. Very important.
Yeah. Correction, the WBCP FB page.
Yeah.
FB page. So
it's not in the Birdwatch page?
Yeah, so there's Birdwatch Philippines. Birdwatch Philippines, yun yung main page ng Wild Bird Club of the Philippines. And then we have a Birdwatch Philippines community. It's a group ng Wild Bird Club of the Philippines. So you can post either there. Are we counting Instagram? Hindi na.
Once naman na may hashtag na at birding with WBCP, makikita na ho namin yun.
Instagram and Facebook, sige. Go ahead, post. Bongga tong first session na may pa-price pa tayo. Ngayon lang namin itong ginawa.
There's a deadline by Sunday,
sa susunod,
8 o'clock.
mag-donate tayo.
Okay, group photo?
Okay, so may I invite everyone to please turn on your videos so that makikita yung mga mukha ninyo.
Ayan, nice. Who's taking the photo?
Who knows who knows how to take the photo?
Ayan. Thank you, Miss MJ. Hirap ako sa computer ko eh.
Iyan ako rin, ha?
Okay, are you ready? Okay, smile. Wait, next page. Wait. Smile. Again. Para sigurado. And then I'll take a picture then. And next page.
Dami mo atang pages dyan. Ba't parang sa akin isa lang?
sa akin dalawa.
Yes.
Okay, so it has been a very long evening for us. Actually, we just had 1 hour, but we exceeded 35 minutes. I think everyone enjoyed the question and answer. So many interesting questions. So, in behalf of the Wild Bird Club of the Philippines, this is your MC, Robbie Alabado, and we hope that you will join us again. And sabi nga ni Jobs, once a month, we're going to have this. And we would like to have a big birding community because we are just one. Okay? Anong sabi nila? Birds of the same feather flock together. So that's why we are a community. Okay? So thank you very much. Stay safe, everyone.